Hey guys, welcome to the TOWTalk Podcast. Today is Saturday, August 15th. We've had an interesting week here in the town of Wallkill. We had Frank on Tuesday for a live stream, which went for over an hour and a half. We had people that engaged and asked questions. That's making the election heat up quite a bit. We've got stories about flock cameras in the county and just a whole lot more. But before we get into it, as always, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click that bell so you're notified when new videos drop and when we go live every Tuesday on our live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Without any further delay, let's get into it. Hey, Neil, what's going on?
Hey, Denise.
Wow, we didn't see you last week, man. You've been like an absentee. What is going on?
Lot of work. It was a busy week. It was a busy week. A lot of stuff going on.
Is that accounting stuff?
Yeah, we're starting to get into budget season, and Town of Chester has a lot of stuff going on. So it's just a lot of things that I had to be present for. So
Yes.
Just one of those weeks. It happens every once in a while. But my apologies. I heard you had the town supervisor on. I'm sorry I missed it. How did that go? Tell me a little about what he said and how it went.
Well, it went very, very well. We had a lot of people were there beginning to end consistently. And actually, I put together a whole list of questions because some people are just really shy to come out and ask questions. They just kind of like, I don't know. They're a little sheepish. So they just kind of watched. And so I made sure to
warriors, those keyboard warriors, man, they love to comment on shit on Facebook. But then when it comes to actually, like, when you have the opportunity to ask a question, right, they crawl back into their hole.
Yes. Yeah. So I prepared for that. And we covered the main thing that was covered is the biggest issue that faces the town, which is the town's finances. It's been an issue for a very long time, going back through multiple administrations.
Wait, Denise. Wait. Finances? Are you sure about that? Because Frank's opponent is running on clock watching. So I thought the most important issue in the town of Wallkill was watching a clock. Is that not the case? Is that not the case?
Well, I suppose if you're Jill,
because I'm a little confused now. Now I'm confused.
Yeah, confusing, right? Yeah. Well, she's now framing, since we talk so heavily about the finances, and he actually put a timeline as to when he intends to have the budgets completed, or the finances completed for each year. He's projecting that 2023, I think, is going to be finished either at the end of this month or by the middle of next month. He intends to have 24 done by the end of October and 25 done by the end of December. So his goal is to be completely up to date, completing all the bookwork that wasn't done by the last administration, have it all done within his first year of being supervisor. And I think that's
Wait a minute. You mean the last administration, which didn't actually do the job that they were supposed to be doing while earning $120,000 and supposedly being there all day? You mean he didn't do his job? He didn't get that stuff done? Is that true?
That is absolutely true. Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Because hearing the rhetoric on Facebook, I gotta say that it makes it sound like it's somebody else's fault and not their fault. Because as I remember it, the woman running for town supervisor, Jill Wilkins, endorsed the previous administration. She said that that's the way to run a government, was to not do the job. So I'm I have to assume is that the position that she wants, that she believes the position is we just collect money, shake a couple of hands and not do any of the administrative work that needs to be done to keep the town running?
Photo ops. You do photo ops, lots of photo ops.
Oh.
Don't actually talk about anything at the photo ops. You just do photo ops.
Like your campaign.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh, right. Not
Yeah.
actually talk about issues, but just take pictures. Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
post memes.
Gotcha.
All
right.
Post memes that you're going to fix everything without any plan of how you're going to get there. So, like I said, we talked about the finances, so that was a big thing, and he went into great detail, as I said before. Oh, and then I brought up the $4 million rescue plan that came up, and I asked him to go into detail about how he put that together, who he contacted, who he had to communicate with, what strings he had to pull, how he had to work with Senators James Skoufis, that's State Senator James Skoufis, and Assemblywoman Paula Kay, and how they all tied together to get those funds to help us. And he explained just the dire condition that the finances were in. But we also talked about something that doesn't get a lot of attention, and that's how they depleted almost all of the fund balance. So when Frank left in his first term at the end of 2021, there was an $11 million fund balance. And when he came back, it was like $900,000. So where did like $10 million go? So just before we sort of talk about that more, Neil, can you kind of explain what a fund balance is for the audience?
Basically, if you were in the for-profit world, it's your owner's equity. It's a balance sheet equation. You can't spend necessarily fund balance, but here's the issue. Your assets minus your liabilities equals your owner's equity. And so what ends up happening is if you deplete your fund balance, you have no cash because there's still assets in your fund balance and you can't sell your assets. So that's what he meant by we had no cash. It was a depletion of cash and a depletion, and with that, a depletion of your fund balance. So it's both.
Nice. So it's both. Okay.
Right.
So yeah. So that turned out to be a problem. So then he was hit with that at the beginning of the year, which led to him realizing he was going to fall short on payroll. And he went into the mechanics of how he managed to accomplish getting it paid and how he's kept the town afloat. He worked with all of the departments and made budget cuts across the top. But reaching out to get that $4 million helped with keeping jobs. It was really tantamount to keeping 97 jobs that they were facing possibly losing. So, there's a lot going on here. And I just want to say this and put this out here because, the other side, it just spreads all kinds of slop out there. And one of the things they came out, and I think we brought this up, you probably brought this up a few episodes back, was that they said that Frank had bamboozled everybody for this money, like the county legislature, the county executive, the state legislature, the comptrollers of the county and the state, and everybody, like dozens of people that were involved in orchestrating this rescue, these rescue funds, which, by the way, other towns need that too. We just needed more than anybody else did. And, and he's saying, I mean, look, I'm sure he's obviously a great talker. He was great in explaining everything. I don't think he's that good that he could con all those people. I mean, come on. But yeah, that's really where we went into.
They've been on that same shtick, right? Since I got into office, right? Since 2016, they've been on that same shtick of nothing to see here. There are no problems. Everything is great, right? $400,000 got stolen. You lost your fucking bond rating, but everything is fine. Like that's just technical shit, right? Like these are the people who bragged about having such a good bond rating, right? And then lost it 6 months later. Okay, right? They everything is a lie, right? Like when you lie that much, you start believing the lie. It's just a lie. I don't understand how people can be told the same fucking lie over and over again and still fucking believe it. Like to me, like it's absolutely amazes me because I'm like sitting here like, oh, are you being serious that the state comptroller's office reviewed this? The entire legislature, both the Senate and the Assembly, right? All the attorneys, all the accountants, everybody looked at this, right? And everybody like was bamboozled. Everybody had like nobody like actually like everybody just signed off on it. Like, come on. Republicans and Democrats all just signed off on it.
Yeah. And so it's just ludicrous to think that this was all bullshit. But this is the only thing they could come up with. It was the only excuse they could come up with, other than the fact that they were completely incompetent and let this shit happen under their watch.
And that's really what it comes down to, right? Is the fact that you have a party, an entire party, that can't admit reality because admitting reality means that they were responsible. And this goes to, there's just a lack of accountability on the other side. And do you really want to vote for a group of people that have shown themselves to not be accountable to anybody, right? And to blame people for stuff that they did. Remember, when the money got stolen, what did they do? They turned around and blamed me. I wasn't even in office. Right? I warned them. I sat down and I warned them. I said, you have no internal controls. Somebody can steal money, and somebody stole money because they refused to actually follow the instructions that were given to them by their auditors, by the accountants, by me. And then they turn around and say, well, it was my fault. No, dude, you were the one that made sure that all the passwords were written down. Right? Like that was your first mistake. I mean, go back, watch the minutes, right? There was a whole argument about passwords. They had everybody write their passwords down on a piece of paper, right? And give them to him.
What could possibly go wrong?
And then he turned around and he passed those envelopes out to department heads. So then department heads had everybody's password. Okay? And then they were just free giving out passwords to everybody. Okay. And then nobody even opened bank statements there, right? Like nobody reconciled the bank statements. They never even opened a bank statement. They didn't do their bank reconciliations, right? They didn't care about administrative work. They didn't want to do it. They were there just to throw the parties. That's all they cared about, was throwing parties. The people who are supporting them are the people who are always at the parties and want to continue to go to the parties.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes. That's kind of what this whole campaign is.
Right. And your tax dollars pay for it all. Your tax dollars pay for it all. Okay.
Wow.
So we just need to stop like the nonsense, the stupid rhetoric. Tell me what your plan is. I mean, think about it this way, right? One of my biggest criticisms was the fact of the way the master plan was rolled out. There wasn't anybody reviewing it. There wasn't any professionals like engineers or anything like that were like really going through and doing it. Like when you do a master plan review, you have a land use attorney and you have your engineer go through and they meticulously pick apart changes that you need and make sure that it complies and comports to known laws that are in place today. Okay. And then they tighten up anything that you want tightened up and take your recommendations. The town didn't use an engineer. They submitted their plan to Orange County and it was rejected twice. Okay. It was told it was deficient twice. Okay. So now they have to start over with the fucking thing. They've spent all this time, all this money, they wasted all the thing. But what did they do in the meantime while they were telling everybody that they were doing this thing? They were spot zoning left and right. Okay.
Spot zoning? What is that?
In other words, changing the zoning to allow for a development project that they wanted, right? So like the Galleria project, would be considered basically the equivalent of a spot zone. They changed the law to allow for residential within town center, and then they granted the PDR, the planned residential development in town center where it's not zoned. Okay. To me, that's why you do your master plan and why you spend time doing it and you do it the right way and you get the right people involved.
Okay.
What are they talking about? They're talking about smart development, which is how spot zoning is talked about. It's talked about planned development. Or smart development. It's not talking about planned development. It's about smart development. Oh, a developer wants to come and build this here. We're going to change the zoning to allow that to happen. And it just happens to be that 3 of the people running on the Republican side are real estate agents.
Well, coincidentally, that's right. That's right now, isn't it?
Right, right now. So you have 3 people who are real estate agents running on a platform of smart development, which is a code word for we're going to continue what we've been doing in this town, which is spot zoning instead of planned zoning. Okay. And like my feeling is,
let me stop you right there.
That isn't smart and it isn't the right way to do it.
Well, that's what I want to touch on, because is this smart zoning thing what led to that apartment complex at the corner of, Dunning Farm Road and East Main Street? That's like behind the new Dunkin' Donuts and the bike.
Yes.
Like that's the most oddest place to put an apartment complex next to a hotel complex. And it's just stupid.
And who is the only board member that voted no to that?
Yeah, you.
I was the only one. Because it didn't make sense.
Nobody's thought there was something wrong with that. That is such an odd place to put that.
It's what they do. It's honestly what they do. Okay. And this is, I saw it over 8 years. Developer comes, oh, I want to do this here. I want to do that. You have land. I want to do this here. And that was it. And then they would rezone to allow that to happen. And my feeling is if you want to do planned zoning and you really want to be smart about it, look at your town, right?
Yeah.
Get a land use attorney in there, get a proper engineer in there who does these type of things, who does comprehensive master plans, and put together something that the county will agree to, that is within the law and that makes sense for our community. Don't spot zone the town. Don't look at one area of the town just because you fucking live there, which is part of what they did. I mean, you look at sort of what they did. They didn't even look at the entire town. They picked areas that developers wanted to develop, and that's what they were zoning. Like, it's like, I'm like so done with this type of governing. Okay. And it's just like you have 3 real estate agents running who could possibly benefit from zonings and sales and all this other kind of stuff. And
no conflict of interest at all.
No conflict of interest at all. Right. None at all.
Interesting.
And they're trying to tell you, and they're giving you the code word, smart development as opposed to planned development. Okay. They tell you exactly what they're going to do. This idea that somehow, Jill talking about getting audits done. Like we heard that, she said, but does she even know what the problems are that are being faced and why they're not done? Like they're trying to make a claim that the 2023 audit still hasn't been filed.
Thought
right?
That was hysterical.
They were 3
that was your
years.
Job.
There were 3 years, right? Okay, that was supposed to be filed in 2024. Who was the town supervisor in 2024? No, tell me. Who was
validate our claim. George Serrano.
Right. Okay, the 2024 audit, right? That should have been filed in 2025. Who was the town supervisor in 2025?
George Serrano.
Who did Jill endorse in the 2024 election?
George Serrano.
Okay, so like, what are we talking about here, right? Like, I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, I thought that was funny though. Just for people, that there is a meme floating around from the other side where they're attacking Frank for not getting the 2023 one done, or just saying, hey, we've got proof that 2023 wasn't done in 2024. Yeah, how about that? Well, way to validate everything we've been saying. Thanks so much. Come on,
and let's keep in mind one thing, and this is what people need to know, right? Because we talk about fiscal stress testing, right? You hear the state comptroller's office, they perform a physical stress test to determine your ability as a going concern. Okay, so they look at your municipality and they say, what are the risks here? And are you managing the town appropriately? The town hasn't had a fiscal stress score in years, in the better part of a decade. Okay, it hasn't, because the fiscal stress scores are only performed in the summer. They're performed right now on the previous year. If you miss the window and you file late, they don't do it. It's not like they do it when you file it. You're late, you missed the boat, you missed the window, and they moved on to the following year.
So this hasn't been done in years because
and if it hasn't been done in decades, they're not going to have a fiscal stress score because the reports were not filed on time. They don't get a fiscal like if you filed 2023 now, they're not going to do a fiscal stress score for 2023. It doesn't work like that. It's irrelevant now.
Yes,
they have to do the current one in the current year in order for it to be valid and in order for them to even do it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So that was, as you can see, just even in this conversation, finances pretty much dominated the interview. But we did touch on other things. Obviously, the big one with the other side saying he only works an hour a day. That we had a laugh about that. Even people were watching were like, this is just ludicrous to even think that, because again, as we mentioned earlier here, Frank is getting the finances done that the last full-time alleged supervisor didn't even bother with. Couldn't find the time to bother with it, and put us in a hole. You can't move forward and plan for things without knowing where you've been. You got to have those numbers up to date. I mean, this is your tax dollars. This is our money. And these people were in control of our money, and they were fucking around with it. And so this is why this is happening. And it seems that there is a lot of desperation to attack Frank as much as possible, to somehow say he's sleeping on the job here. He's there an hour a day. Come on. Frank went as far as to say, I am available 24/7. And he dictated his cell phone number right out in the interview, right there in public. I have it. I'll list it below in the comments. And he said, look, today we live in a modern era. If we learned anything from COVID, where we can work remotely, we do not need to be behind a desk to get shit done. We can get shit done in the middle of the night. You could remotely connect to whatever you got to do. Most things are done by phone, by text, by sending a computer document. We don't even sign things in real ink anymore. We sign things digitally. And to sit here and say, oh, he's only working an hour it's just so disingenuous. This man is working a lot.
Here's what I'm going to say, right? And I'm going to quote a Republican, Curtis Sliwa, right? Who recently said, they're just fucking jealous that they lost. That's it. They're jealous that they lost. Okay. And they can't handle the fact that they're not there every day scamming Town of Wallkill residents. Okay. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, mean, they pulled a scam on Town of Wallkill residents, which led to, the state having to come in and bail the town out. How embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's an embarrassment.
Right.
That the town had to be bailed out because these guys didn't know how to do a budget. They didn't understand what controls meant. And they didn't understand that they had to do administrative work, that the job was a lot of administrative work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and so we talked more about transparency. I mean, Frank has doubled the amount of town hall meetings. They're now, I think it's twice a month or every other week.
Yep. Twice a month.
So twice a month. So you're having 24 opportunities to get in front of Frank and talk about things that might be bothering you. You've got that. Obviously, we have those spill the tea meetings. I posted, again, I'll put that link in the comments. Frank did a spill the tea meeting about a week and a half ago. And I was there and I recorded the whole thing. And I put it up and that's getting a lot of views. Watch it. Just watch him. He's in front of everybody. He's answering questions. He's addressing people's problems. And yet these people, the only thing they can say is he's not doing that. And he's getting paid $122,000. And which we've established over and over and over again, was the salary that the Republicans voted on. That's your salary. You voted for that. If you didn't want it to be that high, you should have cut it down. You should have cut it down.
Imagine how that works, right? They set the budget. They set the budget, and that's what they set because they wanted to win and they wanted to make that money. It was okay for them to not do the job but collect the money and give themselves 4 or 5% raises every year. But, actually doing the job is an issue for them. Like, I mean, you hear that now, right? Like, they're just jealous because now the work is getting done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not just about moving forward. That's the one thing I find that I love with, because we hear that a lot. Oh, well, we just have to move the town forward, right? Move the town forward. Here's the issue, right? Unless you know what caused the problems in the first place, and yes, we do to a certain degree know, okay, you're going to just continue to do that problem. If you elect the same group who caused the problems in the first place without, putting in place the proper controls and doing things the right way and understanding of what failed in the first place, you are going to fail again. End of story.
Absolutely.
Right? I've seen it time and time again in businesses because if you don't have proper policies and procedures in place, okay, people come in and they change things up and next thing you know, shit falls apart. And it can happen very, very fast and very, very easy. And it's very hard to dig yourself out of once it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%. 100%. So it was a really good interview. There was more that we go into a lot of it, but the bigger things we've talked about here just now, you should watch it, especially if you're here in the town of Wallkill and you are you're a voter. We haven't heard from Jill anything more than, memes and short videos about she's going to fix it, whatever it is. I'd love to know. Jill, you're welcome to come onto this show and let us answer these questions for us. Right? Frank has been here a number of times, and how about you come on the show? Let's hear what you have to say. Let's hear your side.
Yeah.
And more importantly, Frank did put out a challenge to Jill to do debates. Now, we could either do a debate here. They could go over to the Wildflowers, and I know debates have been done there. But let's have a one-on-one debate. Go ahead. You've got all these complaints about Frank. You've got all these accusations about Frank. Get up in front of him. And let's address them. Let's address these issues straight up because, the public has a right to know I'm a voter. I want to know. Convince me why I should vote for you. The only way you're going to do that, you're not going to do it with memes. You're not going to do it with short, 30-second videos. You're going to do it by talking and explaining in detail what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it. So let's hear it. Let's hear from you. Neil?
I agree. I mean, I'm really just sick and tired of people not debating and not standing your ground as it relates to the issues of this town and what you want to do. And yeah, come on the show, answer questions. I think a debate would be great, to hear how you differ from the current supervisor. There was a recent post, where she was trying to say that she's running a clean, positive campaign, which is just complete bullshit because, they're running all these AI generated, attack ads. Right.
Slander, yeah.
And it's not even like being run by a PAC. It's being run by like her campaign manager. Like, I mean, like it's not even like a joke anymore. Right. I mean, we all know this is the way this is the nonsense. There's a disconnect between the statements that are being made and the actions. And I think that those actually need, like, this is what we dealt with George, was the fact that he told us everything is fine. The finances are fine. We have good controls. Like, he literally told us about a dozen times between 2022 and 2025. He said, we have the latest controls. Everything is great, blah, blah, blah. And during that same period, somebody was stealing money. $400,000 left the town over that period of time.
He's a cop.
Right.
He's a cop.
Okay. So what I'm trying to understand is like, that was a lie. That was an outright lie. Okay. They weren't even opening up the bank statements to do the bank reconciliations. Okay. Which is a basic control mechanism that every business does. Okay. And
we all do that.
Right. And you do that in your own home, maybe, or whatever. Like, you check your bank accounts. That wasn't being done. So there is just a lie. And now we're seeing those same lies just continuing. Okay.
Yes.
Like, it's just don't fall for the lie anymore. Like, if you feel like even remotely that something could be true, go to town hall, set up a meeting with Frank, talk to him.
Yeah.
He's not hard to get a hold of.
No, literally his 917. I get his number for you right now. If he said it out on open, I'm going to say it out on open here, because he did. Where is he? I'm going to post his number. I will post Frank's number in the comments. It's a cell phone number, and he's available. He said, call me if you need me.
Right. He's not hard to get a hold of. I think the whole thing, like, if you want to run for supervisor or council person in this town, like, there are real issues in this town. Be a part of the solution. Just be a part of the solution. That's it.
Yeah, that's the one thing where I'm not getting from Jill our solutions, and I am getting them. Even my mother had to admit that. My mother, who's like a diehard Republican, is like, wrestling with Jill because she can't seem to come up with anything positive to say. She doesn't understand what her platform is, and that's what it is. She doesn't have one.
She doesn't have one. She doesn't have one.
And if she does, let's hear it.
It's all about what she can sell you. So, like, we said on this show 2 weeks ago, and I rattled off an entire list of things that we wanted to hear from the other side. It was just like, what are your positions on these things? She did an AI image, and all there was just like vague talking points. Like, just as I said, smart development. I'm going to get the audits done. Like, nothing about actual, like, what are the policies you're going to come and put in place? What are the controls that you feel the town doesn't have, that the town should have? Like, I mean, how are you going to fix some of these issues that come up on a daily basis? It's just not about being there. It's about understanding what government does. And there doesn't seem to be any, not only interest in learning government or civics, she doesn't seem to have any knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, or at least she hasn't demonstrated that she has it.
Right.
And, maybe as we're getting closer to election day, now it's time for you to come out and show us. So, I'm gonna put that out again,
And
reach out to us.
as I said, she's running with 2 other real estate agents, and one of the people she's running with covered up a police scandal in the town back in 2000. He was on the town board back in 2000, and he covered up, a police scandal.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be told that these are the transparency people. Even after there were findings that the town violated people's rights and were harassing women, he still denied it.
Yeah, you
And
got
said
to
that
go back to 2000 for that.
And fought in court, had the town and the taxpayers fight in court using taxpayer money, saying that the town shouldn't be put under federal monitoring. Okay?
Yeah.
Fought that.
Yeah.
Saying that they could manage it themselves, okay, when they couldn't manage it for all those years. And they were still denying that it was happening. So we're seeing the same thing again. It's the same playbook. And we know for a fact that it happened. They went to court. They lost in court. The town lost in court, got put under federal monitoring because there was findings of fault and negligence of the town board to, in particular, this candidate who is on the town board, okay, and is now running again on the same, don't worry about it. There isn't a problem, but if there is, we'll fix it. But there's no problem.
Wow. Well, I'm going to move on from this to something that's sort of adjacent. As I mentioned, one of the biggest things that we talked about with Frank's sort of vision for the future of the town is we talked about the Walmart project, and that's becoming a big deal. So Walmart is proposing a 1.5 million square foot automated fulfillment center in northwestern Wallkill near the Sullivan County border. This is along 17, near, I guess, exit 116, I'm going to say, and 17K, but often like the woods. And so they've been the project is estimated to be about $1.6 billion. Mid-Hudson News also reported on this and said it's projected to create up to 1,500 jobs plus a 41,000 square foot truck maintenance facility. So without getting too far into the weeds here with this project, we've had all these warehouses going up all over, these sort of planned warehouses, all of them empty, all of them for rent. Frank is working to put a facility in that's going to be a working facility, not an empty warehouse, an actual working warehouse with jobs, employing people, and most importantly, bringing revenue into the town that's going to help offset the tax base, helping to keep our taxes more level. So that's a big thing that's coming here. Neil, give us your thoughts on this, and then I'll give you all the talking points that I have here.
When I joined the town board, Supervisor Depew was making a big push to have Walmart build on that property. There are particular reasons why we would like that property to be developed in town. One of the reasons being that there is a water well cap there. So the idea being that, there are parts of Sullivan County that need water. that want water, that need that water. And, because of that, there's always a chance that they could annex that property away from the town. That Sullivan County could annex that property away from the town.
To get to the
So
water.
to get to the water, right? So the idea being, if it's developed and it's owned by Walmart, it could prevent that from happening. It protects our borders. As much, we love the Republicans. Like, this protects the town's borders. Like,
Yes.
Right. Like,
Security.
Ultimately, right, like, that we do want to protect the town, and we do want to protect the town's borders. We do this type of development type stuff with the city of Middletown, right? Because the city of Middletown is always looking to annex property, right? Like, we saw that when the convention center, they wanted to build a convention center over on the other side of the town, off of California Ave, around there, okay, the Pocatello area. City of Middletown wanted to annex that property, and so the idea being, at some point in time, right, like, you want to protect your borders, because, the idea is if you start losing properties, then you start losing taxable income and taxable revenue,
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I guess that's interesting. Frank also talked about the ratables, the ratable potential, at the tea event, which is a good thing to go and review, because we didn't sort of get into that much detail with that during the interview, mainly because it's there on the Spill the Tea. And, from what I can recall, and I'm working from memory here, I'll have to go back and look at it. Uh, there wasn't talk about it at this point. An IDA break, a pilot break, where they get a tax break for like a decade or something. I don't know, and they seem to be willing to build a climate friendly facility that was going to have that was going to be able to capture water, and that it was going to be using it was going to be basically not using as much energy, not relying so much on water. So there was going to be, where it wouldn't I'm trying to word this properly, where it wouldn't be using resources that residents would need and other facilities would need. So there was a lot of good things that he said, that Walmart was very willing to work with him to create a positive building. And I didn't hear anything about there being a pilot program. What do you think?
Okay. Listen, I'm not a fan of pilot programs. I think these corporations have gotten a lot of money off of these pilot programs, and I think that they're to the detriment of residents within the community. But again, we'll see what happens. They might get a pilot program. That's always a possibility. We'll see. And we'll go from there, but I really think that this project is probably a good project. It's a needed project within this community. We need that property to be developed. Walmart owns the property, right? So, and we prefer them not selling the property. So this is sort of where we are. I mean, like, sometimes this just happens, and you got to take what you can get. As I said, when I got on the board, Supervisor Depew told us all about this and was like, he was pushing this. This is something he was pushing. So this is not a partisan thing. This is a town thing, right? Like, this is something that the town has been pushing Walmart to do now for, better part, I'm going to say, of almost 2 decades.
Wow.
So it's nice to finally see it coming to fruition,
So, folks, what do you think about that? What do you think about a Walmart fulfillment facility and its potential for creating jobs in the region as well as tax revenue. Give us your thoughts in the comments below.
Listen, it could have been worse. You could have ended up having a fulfillment center or a warehouse right at the fairgrounds, which, would have put trucks right on East Main Street, which is a pain in the ass to get up and down to begin with. So, take the wins where you can get them. That's what I say.
Yes.
Take the wins where you can get them.
Speaking of the fairgrounds, we did talk about the fairgrounds and a vision that he has for creating sort of a walkable community, quasi-residential and retail, and also keeping the track area as well as a green area. So looking to develop that into something where you could easily be able to walk to, like, say, Price Chopper, to the track, to Texas Roadhouse. So making it easy to get around. So he has a vision for that property instead of seeing it sold off and becoming another warehouse. That could happen. So he's very forward thinking. Frank is very forward thinking and looking well beyond his time in office. And I think that's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Listen, we need people who are actually committed to the town, understand, who are staying here, who live here, who want to make the town better for future generations. When I first got on the board, one thing I heard from people all the time was, who put this here? Who put that there? Who, like this makes absolutely no sense. Like, I mean, there are so many things that could have been different in this town if there was proper planning. But everything, you look at the town and everything was kind of like a developer showed up one day and said, hey, this is the property I want to do this on. So they just allowed them to do it. And that's what the town looks like. The town looks like, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to where really anything is.
Yeah. Oh, wow. All right. Why don't we move on to...
think I'm wrong. I mean, that was one of the biggest complaints I got. That was one of the biggest complaints I heard was, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. Like,
yeah,
I'm just like, I can't tell you.
I can see that. Yes, I can see that. Let's,
I got into an argument once. I got into an argument with the first ward councilman one time about CVS parking lot and how it's a nightmare to get out of the CVS parking lot onto Silver Lake Scotchtown Road because you have Neely Drive, which is like right next to it, and Silver Lake Scotchtown Road, but then there are like people constantly turning and all that. And the argument was, because he was on the planning board at the time, was, oh, there's nothing wrong with that intersection. We planned that all out and, we thought it was fine and stuff like that. I'm like, have you ever been in that parking lot? Do you want, like, no, like it's like a fucking nightmare. But it's
like, why didn't you put it on Neely Road? That would have made more sense.
But this is a quiet side road. But this is the problem. This is the problem. Like, people, there just isn't. We need to do a better job when doing planning, and it needs to be planned. We need to start planning stuff. It needs to not be this like rigmarole of, well, developer wants to do this here, so we're just going to do it. So next on our list, why don't we talk about what happened in the city of Newburgh?
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, let's do a quick one on that.
Yeah, the flock cameras. So the Newburgh City Council has been wrestling with whether to terminate its contract with Flock Safety's automated license plate reader cameras. Residents fear information could be used for immigration enforcement. Police argue the cameras are valuable crime-fighting tool. Are a valuable crime-fighting tool. Council members appear broadly concerned about the system, but an immediate termination could reportedly leave Newburgh facing more than $400,000 in contract-related costs. A proposal to immediately end the program failed this week. So this is precisely the surveillance issue we've discussed before, except now it's happening right here in Orange County. So we've got 3 separate questions. Do license plate readers help solve crimes? I guess yes. Can giant interconnected databases be abused? Yeah. Can a municipality impose meaningful restrictions on how that data is accessed and shared? So residents aren't crazy for asking who can see their movements. Police aren't crazy for wanting technology that helps locate stolen vehicles, missing people, or violent suspects. The policy failure is when government adopts the technology first and starts discussing privacy rules afterward. And then there's that $400,000 issue. So, Neil, give me your thoughts on this. What do you think?
It was a very interesting meeting. So I did watch the meeting. The council, and the mayor, I mean, a lot of the public came out and spoke. I mean, there were probably each person was allowed 3 minutes, and comments around the flock cameras lasted about 2 hours. And it was about a 3.5-hour meeting. It was long. It was a long meeting. And, it was a long meeting. And I'm going to say that comment, I would recommend people go see it. There were a lot of good comments from the public. The public obviously wanted the contract terminated immediately, with the idea of, at some future date discussing what types of policing, this gets to the broader question of, what does local policing mean? What are the resources local police officers need to do their job? So, and it's really, and I understand that there's a lot of, a lot of passion on both sides, but here's what I'm going to say. The technology didn't exist more than 10 years ago. We were policing in this country for 200 years without it.
Absolutely.
Right? Why do all of a sudden police officers need it?
Exactly.
Like to me, it's laziness. It's the idea of, we don't want to do old fashioned police work. What we want to do is we want to get a camera and we want to see, and not for nothing. Can images be doctored? We don't even know. We don't even know that. Right?
Come on. Yes, we do. We watch it happen all the time. AI is so unbelievably convincing at this point.
Right. And one of the owners of Flock is a company that does digital alterations.
Imagine that.
And then you have, who has access to the information? We know law enforcement has access, local law enforcement, but federal authorities have access as well. Now we know that agencies from all across the United States have access to your flock cameras. So your flock cameras are no longer your local police department. It's a nationwide database. So now anybody can access it nationwide. We've seen that happen. We've seen officers get suspended nationwide.
For stalking people.
In at least a dozen different states for stalking people. So, I'm not there clearly aren't rules. And then the question is, all right, well, who else has access? We know, because it came up, that Flock was spying on a preschool classroom because the company wanted a security system in place. They contracted with Flock, and that they were using that preschool as an example during sales calls. They were allowing people that, they were in order to pitch it to other people. They were saying, hey, listen, this is what you can do with the camera. And they were watching the preschool.
God.
Yeah.
Imagine that's your child on that camera being displayed to complete strangers in another part of the country.
Right. And now we've seen that we saw recently, it came up, there was a flock camera pointed at a pool.
Yes. I heard about that.
Why would a flock camera be pointed at a pool if it's just a license plate reader? And then we found out that flock cameras, pull images as well as license plates, not just license plates that they use. And then they create driver, like we've talked about that numerous times on this podcast, and they create people profiles. And who has access to those people? Do the billionaires, do the investors, do the billionaire investors have access to flock information? Do they have the ability to watch a camera or look up people's license plates and find out their profile or get images of them, in different spots? Like it becomes a what controls are in place? Who has access? Where there are so many questions that have not been answered. And, there was a huge rush to put them out. Boards,
yeah, without a doubt.
right? Like, think about how this got put out, right? Basically, the DOJ came to each municipality and said, we're going to give you X amount of money to put up these cameras, and you have 30 days to do it. Otherwise, you don't get the money. What time frame do you have to develop policies and procedures when they are going to give you security stuff, in a 30-day time period, and they're going to pay for it for you? And so you're on a board and you're like, all of a sudden you're like, because like now it's like a deer in headlights, because now your police chief is coming to you and saying, we need to do this now. Otherwise we're not getting the money. And you're looking at it as, we're getting money because you're a local municipality. You get no money from the federal government. You want as much money as you can get, and you think you're providing added security to your town or your village or wherever, or your city. And it turns out you're not. Turns out that it's not that way. And here's what I'm also going to say. Okay, before I get back to Newberg, because I have one more comment on this. All of this is a result of having an authoritarian in the White House. Okay?
100%.
Because a few years ago, when Flock was putting up all these cameras, nobody gave a shit. Like, people are only caring now because the government is targeting individual people. They're targeting protesters. They're targeting dissent. They're targeting people, individuals, for their constitutional rights. And they're taking away your constitutional rights as you go. Okay? So it really comes down to, now people are saying, well, I don't want to be targeted, and this puts a target on me. Whether I like it or not, this is putting a target on me, and the government can frame me for anything because they have cameras everywhere.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I don't know if you know the answer to this, and maybe we'll dig into this further. You said they were putting these up years ago. About how long did they start doing this, and was there any pushback back then by anyone? Did anybody see this and say,
Flock has been around for like 9 years?
Really? And we're really, a lot of us are only hearing about Flock recently. Now that it's
why is
because it's now being tied in so much to police and surveillance and AI and all of this massive surveillance state. They're all being tied together to monitor us.
And you have a federal government that is violating people's first, third, fourth, fifth, right, 8th, 7th, 9th, 12th, 13th, 14th. I mean, all these amendments, right? They're violating all these amendments, okay, to our Constitution. So what's happening is that now people are pushing back against the authoritarianism that they're viewing in their local community. Okay. Right. At some point in time, like, I mean, they're putting up warehouses in local communities. Deep down, people understand that this is only the start. I mean, they've designated, different types of people with different types of beliefs, okay, as terrorists think about Antifa. Like, I mean, all we need to do is look at Antifa.
Antifa.
Antifa means that you're anti-fascist. Okay?
That's it.
That's all
That's
Antifa means, right? 80% of the country is anti-fascist. You know?
At least they better be.
So all these people could be targeted by your government for being anti-fascist. Okay? Now, am I saying that they are going to target everybody? No, most people will be compliant. I mean, you know, that's what people are.
Yeah, that's a word we're hearing a lot lately, compliant.
Right. Well, most people just want to get through their day. They want to go to work.
You went silent,
come
Neil.
Home.
There
Hello?
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you went silent on my end. Maybe it was just my end. I'm sorry. Say it again. I'm sorry.
You know, most people just want to go to work, you know, earn a living, go home, you know, cook dinner, right, and go to bed. And maybe take a vacation every once in a while. That's what most people want. Okay. And now, right, and most people aren't involved in politics like we are. You know, they don't live it, they don't breathe it, they don't care about it.
Yeah.
But now it's in their face. Now they go to the airport and they confiscate your phone. Right? They confiscate your phone and they look to see if you sent a meme or had a meme sent to you that was anti-Trump. All right? I mean, like, this is the stupid shit. They've deported people who are here legally, okay, just for making comments, just for exercising their First Amendment rights, okay?
To free speech.
So people are seeing this, and we've all, like, seen this play out. Like, this story is a story throughout history, okay, that eventually the federal government will come for you. If you allow them, they will. It's just a matter of time, you know? So people are and now they have the means to get you. I mean, you know, they know exactly where you are at any given point in the time in the day. Hell, the ICE showed up at a polling place where a woman was working. You know, just because she made a post that was anti-ICE, and they wanted her to sign a paper that said that she threatened ICE. You know, I mean,
signing shit.
But that's the thing. This is how it starts. Okay.
Right.
And I'm going to say, people are now becoming more and more aware of it. This isn't an idea of, you know, if you're not doing anything, you have nothing to worry about, right? AI has proven that they can manipulate and change whatever they. Not only that, we now know that the Justice Department has gone out and they've basically doctored grand juries, right? I mean, they've given false information to grand juries. They've manipulated grand juries. They've even kicked people off of grand juries to get the people that they wanted on the grand jury so that they can get the indictment. Okay?
And meeting with them outside of the courtroom. I mean, these are things you don't do.
These are all disreputable things and unethical things, and it flies in the face of our justice system. So
the rule of law, it's been shit on.
Right. When you have no rule of law, people all of a sudden start getting scared about the authoritarianism that's being presented in front of them. And here's the thing. You may not have anything to worry about with your local police, right? But what did we see? We saw that somebody in Texas, right? An officer in Texas had somebody arrested in Illinois who didn't commit a crime.
Incredible.
Right? So there are absolutely real concerns. So getting back to what happened in Newburgh, it was very interesting because, again, 2 hours, people talking, people saying, you know, we want the flock cameras out. We want the flock cameras out. Every single board member spoke. Every single board member said that they were against the flock cameras. Okay? Right?
So they're with the people. They're with the people then.
But then a vote occurred, right? Then I think it's Alderman Omari Shakur had put forth a motion to vote to end the contract, right? And it was seconded by Alderman Giselle Martinez, right? So now it came to a floor vote, okay, and the floor vote failed. So they all were for killing the contract and not having flock cameras in the community, but then the vote failed.
Is that because of the $400,000?
That was the claim. That was the claim.
That's the claim. You're not buying it.
I don't know. I haven't reviewed the contract, so I don't know. I don't know the answer to it. But here's what I'm going to say. All right, $400,000 for a city, local municipality is a lot of money. Okay, but at the end of the day, right, like their argument made no sense. Okay, the argument was, well, if we don't fund the line, right, then we can cancel the contract. Okay. And it really made no sense because at that point in time, all the board has to do is change the budget. Vote to change the budget, right? Defund the line. Defund the line. No longer fund that contract. And then you could say, well, it's now an unfunded contract and therefore we're not going to pay on it. Right. So like the argument about like, we just don't have to fund the contract in the budget and therefore the budget, then the contract goes away. That makes no sense to me because usually that type of language is not in a contract. Either you have a contract or you don't have a contract, right? If you have a contract, then you have to fund the line, right? There's usually some type of termination clause within a contract. And that's what I would like to see is what does the termination clause say, right? So sometimes it'll say like there's a 90-day window. You can terminate within 90 days or you can terminate within 60 days. Usually there's a termination window that you have to give notice, right? So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see the termination clause within the contract and see if there actually is one and whether there is a penalty associated with that. There might be, the only thing I might say that they have to pay back, right, is if they put up the flock cameras via a grant, which may be the case. Okay. If they terminate the contract, then they may have to give back the grant funds.
And so that could cost taxpayers.
That would cost the taxpayers money, yes. Again, but I don't know because I haven't seen the contract. I don't know what the contract is. I haven't talked to anybody related to what's going on there, but that's the only thing I can think of, related to it. And there's probably a contract related to the warehousing of the information, the data storage that's needed for the information. There could be some contract related to that. Again, there's a lot here, but what I find is really interesting is that they've been having this discussion for over a month now. Okay. And, there was some talk about arguing over, wording of the resolution, like really ridiculous things, that people were, it just seemed like technicalities that were kind of BS in nature,
Okay.
It seemed to be like, yeah, we want to end the flock thing, but we don't want to end the flock thing. That was the gist that I was getting from the board is that we're all really against the First Amendment violations that it's doing, but it's also the city of Newburgh and we want to have flock cameras. That was honestly enough, that was the impression I got. All right. Like I watched the meeting and that was honestly the impression I came away with.
Unbelievable. Folks, this is a serious thing. And we've talked about this, by the way, on our sister channel. If you're not subscribed, check out the Daily Gripe. We did a video that touched on this in the surveillance state, and we're going to keep talking about this because you know what? We didn't need this stuff. Just like we said before, we didn't need this stuff years ago. Now all of a sudden we need it because it's going to make us safer. Being over policed is going to make us safer. How about making things more affordable and having a living wage and better jobs out there and low cost food and energy available to us, so people don't have to, get desperate and become criminals. Mamdani has just proven that if you make things more affordable, you have less crime.
You just pulled exactly what I was gonna say out. It's
beat you to it.
you look at Mamdani and he's been in office for a little less than 8 months, and what you could see is that he is being responsive to the needs of his community, and in response to that, crime has fallen. Okay, and you can say what you want. Police respond to crime. Okay, they don't really prevent crime. The cameras that are in place, right, don't prevent crime. They only respond to crime. Okay, but this idea is what we're hearing from, right, our politicians in Washington, which has now become really scary for us, is that they want to do pre-crime, right? Like we're getting into this Minority Report BS, okay, where they want to catch you before you commit the crime, okay? And that's not the way our justice system works.
Yeah, that's just a huge issue that can be really exploited in so many ways.
But it is being exploited now.
And it is.
Now it's being exploited, right? Because we're now seeing that with the flock cameras, with this idea that police are using flock cameras to stalk people. Okay? Just like the guy in Wisconsin who was going to Michigan to buy marijuana in Michigan, right? Because it's legal to purchase marijuana in Michigan, right? And that's where the dispensary was, right? And flock cameras tracked him going back and forth, and then they arrested the guy, right? He wasn't buying, he wasn't trafficking, he wasn't selling. It was for his own use.
Oh,
but they didn't give a shit.
Use.
Yeah,
no.
They didn't give a shit.
No, they're just looking to just find reasons to get arrested. So this goes back to lazy police work, right? You just sit there and watch TV till you see something that's even quasi illegal. We'll go after that. Never mind waiting, being out there on the beat, ready to respond to a call from somebody who's in real need. No, you're sitting behind a desk watching TV.
Listen, I was all for, when I was on the town board, I was all for community policing. Right? That's really what it comes down to. Having boots on the ground, right? Talking to people, right? Like really getting the police to interact with your community in a very real way. I give Chief Hertman credit, in the fact that he's I think he's done a pretty good job in making sure that he's, in the community,
yes.
and doing stuff. But at the same token, right, like we have to be responsive to our residents, and we shouldn't be spying on them. We just shouldn't. And
absolutely not.
And in this case, I think I agree with Alderman Shakur and Alderman Martinez, when they voted to get rid of the flock cameras. I think there isn't enough controls. We don't know enough about them. Right. And this idea of doing things first and then putting the controls in later, it doesn't work, because what you find is once you've given something, and it's like you give a baby a new toy, they want to play with the toy, right? But then you start putting rules on the toy after they played with it a day or two, right? Because now you're seeing how they're playing with it. So now you try to put constraints on, and they don't want the constraints.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the police, unfortunately, are the same way. They want to be able to do these things, but at the same token, there are people out there abusing those things. So that means that they shouldn't get those things. If it's going to be abused, then you can't have it until we know how to put it in place and operate it effectively, maintaining people's rights. Okay.
And you know what? That falls back to what we say all the friggin' time on this channel, on Daily Gripe, everywhere else. Voting matters. And, this is where you need to really get to know those candidates and who's for. I mean, okay, if we're going to have flock cameras, there needs to be a certain level of regulation to ensure that they are not abused in the way they're being abused right now. And that abuse is, if it's not put in check now, it's going to get worse. I can promise you that. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. And so voting matters. Get to know your candidates, get to know where they stand on this. And if you're, we're seeing, if you've already had your primaries and your candidate is someone who's sort of wishy-washy on flock cameras, it's up to you as constituents to push them in the direction you want them to go.
And, these are questions that, these are all hot topic questions, right? Flock cameras, warehousing, battery bank power facilities,
yes,
right? Data centers. These are all hot topics, right? That, are really hot topics in our local community. And, we need our local politicians, right? Those running for local office to answer those questions, right? What, again, I go back to, what is smart development? Does smart development mean putting data centers in our empty warehouses to get, for the town to get revenue out of those things? Is that a plan of, Jill Wilkins, who's running for supervisor, right? Like, what does it actually mean? So we need to, there are just too many questions. We really need a debate. I think Newburgh, I would like to see them, make a responsible, choice in this matter, but I at the same token, right? Like, as much as I want to say get rid of all the flock cameras, right? I'm also of the mindset that if there are areas of your community that are subject to high criminal activity, right? Maybe we do need a camera there.
Provided that it is limited within the scope of monitoring that specific area. That's, correct, again, falls back to regulation. And we're living in the deregulated state now, right? We're all being policed now, and the government is free to tread upon all of us. And it used to be the other way around. That was the whole point of some bureaucracy and regulation, was to make sure that the government couldn't get it up your ass the way it is right now.
Well, that's the interesting part, right? Like, the Republicans ran on this platform of don't tread on me, deregulation, right? But the regulation is what prevented the government from treading on you.
Yes.
So now that they've deregulated everything, now the government's treading on you, and you get the and now our food supply is sucked. So not only are they treading on you, but now you're shitting all the time as a result of it. So welcome to America. Good luck.
All right.
Where we tread on you and you get the shit all the time.
Yes. All right. With that note, folks, if particularly if you're from, oh God, yeah, that's a shitty note to leave on. But we're gonna wind up here, folks. If you haven't already subscribed to the Daily Gripe, please join us there. That's actually where we take on more national topics such as this and break those down a little further. We tend to be a little snarkier over there, so the engagement can be fun. We are. Just a little. So, but also, if you're from Newburgh and you catch this, would love to hear your opinion and what you think of this whole flock camera thing. definitely comment below. Always 7 words or more, because we got to feed the algorithm that fucking hates political content. And like, share, and subscribe, right? Engage with us. We want to hear from you. All right, guys. So in the meantime, take care. We love you. Be safe. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Peace out.